The unbelievable reason 6 U.S. states are facing economic risk. Have you noticed something huge happening this summer of 2025 that hardly anyone is talking about? 6 U.S. states are staring down the risk of economic collapse for a reason that almost sounds unbelievable: Canadian tourists have stopped coming. This quiet shift traces back to a mix of political tensions stirred up by President Donald Trump's campaign statements, stricter new travel policies, and rising costs in the U.S. These factors are making Canadians think twice about their usual trips south. Meanwhile, new destinations like Mexico and Europe are stepping in as perfect alternatives to America. Some states on this list, you might guess, but others will surprise you. And the last one? Well, that's the clearest sign yet of a quiet shift powerful enough to reshape the entire North American travel map in the years ahead. Vermont, the Maple State's tourism crisis. Vermont, a small, mountainous state famous for its peaceful landscapes, charming towns, and maple syrup, has long been a familiar stop for Canadian tourists, especially those from Quebec. From short weekend trips to long holidays, Canadians have become a vital part of the tourism rhythm here. In 2024, they contributed millions of dollars to Vermont's $3 billion tourism industry. But just 1 year later, that picture has changed. In 2025, Vermont fell into an unprecedented tourism crisis. According to recent figures, the number of Canadian tourists to the U.S. dropped sharply. Airline tickets fell by 70% and cross-border road trips decreased by 23%. For a small border state like Vermont, this shock is much heavier than for other destinations. The once stable stream of visitors is now fragile. Local businesses are struggling, and farmers' markets once bustling with tourists are reporting revenue drops of 30% or more. This decrease not only reduces profits but also threatens the livelihoods of many families. Some businesses have been forced to cut staff or shorten their hours, something you almost never see in a state that's used to steady visitor traffic. 1 out of every 7 jobs in Vermont is tied directly or indirectly to tourism, which means this drop isn't just a short-term setback, it's a long-term threat to the local economy. 12. Michigan, the Rust Belt's frozen flow. Michigan has always had a special bond with Canada. It's not just a long shared border, the two are deeply connected through economics and culture. Canadians, especially from Ontario, have long made it a habit to drive across the Ambassador Bridge or through the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel to shop, catch a sports game, or simply relax at lakeside cabins. In 2024, this steady flow of visitors pumped billions of dollars into Michigan's $25 billion tourism industry. But as 2025 rolled in, that picture flipped almost overnight. Rising political tensions and a growing "say no to America" sentiment across Canada have taken hold. Border checkpoints that were once packed now look unusually empty. Businesses in Detroit, Port Huron, and Windsor are reporting revenue losses of up to 30%. The ripple effect is hitting hard. Hotels are struggling with bookings drying up, and even big events are feeling the impact with stadiums missing thousands of Canadian fans. Experts admit that the steady stream of Canadian money is nearly impossible to replace. This downturn raises serious questions about the long-term future of border communities where infrastructure and services have been built around two-way travel. 3. Florida, the Sunshine State's fading shine. For decades, Florida has been seen as a second home for Canadians. From retirees escaping the harsh winters to families heading to Disney World, Canadians have long been an essential part of Florida's tourism engine. In 2024, more than 3 million Canadian visitors came to Florida, pouring over $4 billion into the local economy. But heading into 2025, a perfect storm of political tension and new policy changes is threatening what was once considered one of Florida's most reliable visitor streams. The effects are already showing. Air Canada has cut flights to Miami, Orlando, and Tampa. Popular snowbird hubs now feel unusually quiet, and long-term rentals are sitting empty. Hotels and retail businesses are raising alarms as bookings plummet and foot traffic drops. Even Orlando's world-famous theme parks are not immune. Many businesses have had to cut back on seasonal staff, bracing themselves for a summer that may end up feeling colder than a Canadian winter. Experts are clear, fully replacing the spending power and steady volume of Canadian visitors is next to impossible. 4. Arizona, the desert's empty RV parks. Arizona has long been a favorite destination for Canadian travelers, especially retirees looking to escape the brutal winter. With its mild climate and stunning desert landscapes, the state has become a paradise for snowbirds. In 2024, Canadian visitors played a massive role in Arizona's $24 billion tourism economy, with their money flowing into hotels, restaurants, real estate, and golf courses. But in 2025, that steady flow has started to dry up. Canadian visitors are dropping fast, leaving RV parks that once had endless wait lists with rows of empty spaces. Golf resorts are reporting rising cancellations, and even home sales to Canadian buyers have plunged. Businesses that once thrived on this loyal customer base are being forced to pivot. Without Canadian dollars flowing in, the economic gap is painfully obvious. This is especially dangerous for smaller communities where entire infrastructures were built around these seasonal visitors. 5. New York, the Big Apple's missing visitors. From the city that never sleeps to the thundering beauty of Niagara Falls, New York has always held a special place in the hearts of Canadian travelers. Weekend trips to Buffalo for shopping or down to New York City for a Broadway show became a routine. In 2024, Canadians made up a huge share of New York's 67 million visitors, pumping billions into the state's $17 billion tourism economy. But by 2025, the picture has changed. The "Say No to America" wave mixed with new travel advisories has driven a sharp drop in visitors. Reports suggest that New York City alone could lose up to 800,000 international visitors in 2025, with more than half of them being Canadian. That number translates into hundreds of millions of dollars evaporating from hotels, restaurants, and retail stores. The shockwaves are rippling across New York's entire tourism supply chain. Retail has lost one of its biggest spending groups, and restaurants are reporting a noticeable drop in diners. What's more concerning is this: if even a global hub like New York can stumble under this pressure, imagine the situation for smaller states that rely almost entirely on Canadian visitors.